All right. I'd like to call to order the City of Las Vegas Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission for April 4th, 2017 at 4:05. Items listed on the agenda may be taken out of the order presented. Two or more agenda items for consideration may be combined, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related. Discussion may be delayed at any time. Backup material for this agenda may be obtained from Luann D. Holmes, City Clerk, at the City Clerk's office at 495 South Main Street, second floor, or on the city's website at www.lasvegasnevada.gov. Just like to make sure that we're in compliance with the open meeting law.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. And would you like to call roll, please?
Yes, please. Chair White, excused. Vice Chair Bastian.
Here.
Commissioner Armenian, excused. Commissioner Acker is excused. Commissioner Sherman.
Here.
Commissioner McCurdy, excused. Commissioner Thompson, excused. Commissioner Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Tabbert.
Here.
Commissioner Gabbard.
Here.
Commissioner Niger.
Yep.
Commissioner Schultz.
Present.
Commissioner Dodo, excused. Commissioner Henley.
Here.
Commissioner Lozano.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item number 3. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Do we have anyone present who would like to speak at this time? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 4. This is for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of March 7th, 2017. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I move to approve. I second.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, who
Will
made
you
the
say your
motion?
name first, please?
Larry Schultz,
Okay.
Ward 6.
Thank
Sorry.
you. That's okay.
Steve Meyer, second.
Thank you. Do we have any comments? All right. Let's go for a vote. All those in favor of approving the final minutes, please signify by an aye.
Aye.
Anybody in opposition, signal by a nay. Hearing none, motion passes. We will
Thank
take the
you.
minutes. Okay. Just a reminder that we probably do need today, and I'll need to be reminded too, to do our names because we're in a different configuration, and that'll help us be able to report the minutes accurately. All right, at this time, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, report by the Department of Public Safety regarding issues of city facilities and parks, and this impacts all wards.
Hello, Officer Woodreger. Our report today shows that the majority of the calls that we received were from the Las Vegas Detention Center. That's inmates fighting either with corrections officers or each other. So we have to go down and investigate it, and a lot of times they end up going from the city jail to CCDC on felony charges. So that was 38 total calls this month for Las Vegas Detention Center. Second runner-up was Lorenzi Park at 29, and then Huntridge Circle. 55% of our total arrests and citations took place on Fremont Street. We had 176 different incidents, with 80 of those resulting in arrests, 96 in citations, and we now have warning citations that we give out, and 248 of those were given out. Good news, we participated in the recruitment seminar in City Council. We have Facebook Live recruitment with the city to try to get people for the various jobs within our department. And we assisted in the opening of the new Supreme Court. On a funny note, 2 of the arrests took place on Fremont Street. The officers were taking a break in their patrol car, and 2 gentlemen posed next to the patrol car smoking marijuana and were placed under arrest after they took their selfie. Any questions?
Shortcut chase.
Do we have any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your report.
Just in time, Jerry.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, report by Jerry Walker, Operations and Maintenance Park Director, regarding an update on the conditions park survey for city parks.
There's
Al
our
Woods.
efficiency right there.
That's how we do.
That's. We also have a few other items, right?
Just a couple other items before we start on the park condition survey. The windstorm on Thursday night, we started getting calls about 3. First problem Thursday night was with the streets. Not that it's Parks issue, but streets helped respond. So streets crews responded to 100 different locations, 115 trees, 40 were full trees down, the other large branch sections, and so it was critical that we had parks to help the streets crews get that out of the way. The second item is we lost 53 mature trees in the parks. And so those are root balls overturned or snapped at the base. We responded to those in force on Friday. That was 10 at Floyd Lamb, 9 at Centennial Hills. Floyd Lamb was priority. It's our understanding that was about there over the weekend. And so we moved vendors, contractors, and street staff over to help parks. We also just finished an upgrade project at Huntridge. We closed Huntridge down for 2 weeks while we did that project. And we restored the DG areas, did some herbicide, turf upgrades, a few other items.
Added some boulders.
Added some boulders, and so just kind of a small improvement project, but we did close the parks down for 2 weeks while we were there. It was reopened last Friday. The condition assessment, I'll pass around an update. We've got the tracker turned on this document. And this is moving a little slower than I would have hoped. But for background, operations and maintenance is a 420 employee department. Of that, over 95% are field staff. And so projects of this type among the 4 divisions are done by myself and the 4 division managers, and we have 1 senior management analyst to help. And so we're doing a lot of fleet issues over the last few months. Had to spend a lot of time on those, streets and sanitation, and so it's taken a while for Rose and I to get back and forth to this. I also had some mental blocks on the way we were doing this, and so I just kind of let it simmer for a while. We did some initial condition assessments, and I'd like to thank Tim Hacker, Maggie Plaster, did some condition assessments for me and kind of provided some guidance to me on what we were doing. And so Maggie did the assessments exactly how I would have did them, exactly what I was looking for. But then we had a few other people do them, and they scattered the numbers around, and I think part of that was due to the lack of a defined rating. What is a 2, what is a 4, what is a 6? And so we had some staff members that rated the turf area as 3, and I don't think we have any turf areas at a 3 category. And so part of that would be it's hibernation time, dormancy time for the Bermuda, and they probably saw the yellow grass, thought it was all dead, therefore they rated the turf bad. So it dawned on me I needed to correct that, and in this change you'll see I've gotten most of what I was looking for incorporated. The new text is in red again, it's tracked. And so one of the issues is I needed to provide that, and we're also going to come up with some photos. The second issue, I had this on an 11-point scale because I was trying to add this park safety, park comfort level in there, and I was having a little trouble figuring out how to do that. And so Maggie also pointed out that an 11 to 99-point scale made no sense to anybody but some sort of math geek. So she's absolutely right. It needs to be on a 0 to 100 scale. And so I recategorized, put in 10 categories and scored them 0 to 10, and then that makes it easier to put my definitions in. And so the category I took out was the public safety component. And what I was trying to address on the public safety was more of a public comfort. Really what I'm after are the things that are outside of our control. And so as I rate parks, there are certain parks that are never going to rise above a given level. And one comment we hear all the time is I want it to look like Majestic. Well, Majestic's a special park. There are circumstances at Majestic that are unique to Majestic. There are circumstances to other parks that are unique to those parks. And so whether it be a shared school issue where we don't have control over the school district, or whether it be just a high-use area, in which case now we're constrained by what we can do, or we have social conditions. It's a location subject to just constant, relentless tagging. Maybe there are drug use issues there that happen after hours that require extra cleanup. Maybe there's a passive use component to the park, which gives it kind of an unkept nature just by that use. But we can't dictate uses. We can only maintain what's there for us. And so what I decided to do on that, instead of putting it in as a category, rather than argue about individually, once we're doing the ratings, what a park should be, we're going to go ahead and put a target goal on every park. And so, with that being said, let me go ahead and start on the first page. And so you can see underneath the red text and policy, we're going to report on this on a fiscal year basis. We're going to implement on FY18, which means one way or another we will initiate record keeping on July 1st. I would hope we would do it before then, but we will have a full FY18 rating. We'll report it back to the city managers. The scoring system, little English corrections in here, but the scoring system is now in 10 categories on a 0 to 10 point, so the rating is 0 to 100. On each of those, 10 is basically brand new and never been used, and 0 is it's posted unsafe, do not enter. And so somewhere between those two categories is where our parks are going to be. Now I've added a park-specific rating target. And so there's two ways to get to a higher level of rating. One is to expand more and more resources on it in a diminishing level of return. The next is to close the park off. If we don't let anybody into the park, then it's much easier for us to maintain it at the pristine level we would like to. That's, and so I think it would be better for us if we go ahead and put a park rating out, and then the park inspections start at that level. And so if we have concerns that, you know, you've rated this park your target goal here, and I've set them down in 5 categories, and so if we've got 85 to 100 is excellent, and 70 to 84 is good, and then 54 to 69 is adequate, and we should never be below adequate. And so I've set our target goals at 92, 87, 82, 77, and 72. And so Rosa and I are going to go through the 79 parks. We will add an addendum to this, and we are going to say, here's where we think optimum utilization of resources where we should keep this park at. And so Betty Wilson is the jewel of the system. It's where the Mayor's Cup is. Betty Wilson, target goal will be a 92. And probably Majestic will be a 92. And maybe Mary Dutton will be a 92 because there's just not that much to maintain. Well, it's a small park, it's desert landscaping. There's no reason we can't keep it as a 92. There's no outside factor there that's disrupting our maintenance of it. We don't have to come by that often to keep it at a 92. Versus, the next tier in those, and we're going to have to look at age-related components, and so KZ's pretty new, Centennial Hills are pretty new, and so, but we can't keep them at a 92 because of the extreme use. And they're very high-use parks, and so maybe those are the 87s approved. Ed Fountain is a little older park. It's certainly one that we want to maintain at a high level, but again, just the extensive use at Ed Fountain. Maybe Ed Fountain's, our target goal is 82, maybe it's 87. And then we have some other parks where we have these high passive use areas, where we have, just an encampment style situation throughout the day. And that creates a scenario where it's going to be hard to rate those, as a target goal higher than a 77 or an 82. And then, just like we don't expect there to be that many 92 target goals, we don't expect to give up and say there are that many 77 target goals. And so we're going to set some target goals in here, take a look at them, adjust those, and set a baseline. And so by that, we can have some sort of indication of where we're low, where maybe we need to ask for CIP and work with Tim on, and where we need to have upgrades. And part of this will be the age, and if the bathrooms are just destroyed to the point facility-wise, if the bathrooms constantly drag the score down, then maybe the bathroom should be a CIP. Maybe just the location and function of the park, such as Mary Dutton, skews it one way or another. And so that's the third component of this. The three changes I made, A, were to put it on the 10-point scale and to take that to the 0 to the 100. B was to put a park-specific rating target on here, and we will add that as addendums. And so the first thing we're going to do is give it to you alphabetically. And so Aloha Shores Park is, it has this many acres, it has this, it has that. It was built here, and we rated this. And then we'll go alphabetically, so you can look them up alphabetically. Then we'll break it down by ward. And you can see by the wards how the ratings go. And then we'll put it on a map and color code and symbol that map and put them out there on those different scores. And then maybe we put those in red, and that's our starting point. And then at the end of the year, we put them in green. And we rate them that way. And then they'll rate in the categories in terms of how we do them. And so we're going to add this in. I think that kind of clarifies for me the problem I was having with how do I try and compare apples and oranges. And so that way I just kind of put it on a standard rating. And so I've got a target goal. Can I hit the target goal? Can I exceed the target goal? Did I get the target goal absolutely wrong and I need to reconsider? Otherwise, though, I think it just brings in a discussion of what I rated and where it should be. And so if I can set that baseline, then we can argue about or discuss whether or not the baseline is correct. So I'm going to make that change. The next thing I did, and the last thing change I made on this is the category ratings, is I went ahead and I started giving additional details in there. And so for the first 7, you can see I've broken them down by an 8 means this, a 6 means that, a 4 means this, and a 2 means this. And so those are broken down into various categories. And so, for instance, let's go to restrooms, the second one. On restrooms, I'm looking for cleanliness, external cleanliness, internal cleanliness, graffiti concerns, fixtures, appropriate level of supplies, trash receptacle service, facility damages. And so a rating of 8 indicates that everything's pretty good. Okay, maybe if everything's better than good, you give it a 9. Certainly unless it's brand new, we don't give it a 10. 6 means we take down if there's a facility completely out of service, especially if it's multi-facilities in a park. Or if 2 of the following conditions apply. The exterior is filthy or in poor repair. If it's being used incorrectly inside out, then that shouldn't occur and we should be cleaning it. If the interior is dirty to the point you're a little uncomfortable using it. If we have significant or offensive graffiti, that needs to be covered immediately. And if you have multiple fixtures out of service or if you don't have supplies. And so if you have 2 or more of those apply, then that's a 6. And if you go down to 4, if we have more than one facility, or if we have a facility and the other conditions apply, or if we have more than 2 of those conditions, or if we have 2 of those conditions that are significant. And so if the interior is filthy and there's offensive graffiti, then that rate's a 4. Or if there's a facility down and we have extensive graffiti, that rate's a 4. And so those various sorts of combinations to give us something as we rate to kind of go back and look at it. I've also asked the parks foreman to get me photos. And so we'll get some photos of the condition, and Appendix D for this will be photos. And so there'll be a section that says turf, and there'll be a couple of photos that show what we think an 8 is. Hopefully, we can find those photos. And there'll be a couple of conditions as to what we think 6 is, and 4 is, and 2 is. And then we will have a different turf condition. What we think is, I'll give you an example. We received an email from a deputy city manager the other day showing us a new park in another municipality, and the grass was in pretty bad condition. Now, that grass we would rate a 4 as a sports field grass, rated as a 6 as a common amenity grass. And so it'll give you some sort of guideline. And I'm going to finish this up. We will get the mailing distribution from Parks and Rec, and then I'll send this out in about 2 weeks. We'll come back and meet with you in May, ask if you have any final comments, and at that point in time, I'd like to start to schedule field inspections with the various wards. Time and date convenient for both representatives. We'll also ask ward office if they want to come out and send a liaison, and so we'll go out and kind of do these inspections. And then as the Parks and Rec commissioners would like to participate, we'd love your participation. It seems like something to be right up the commission's alley. And what I'm looking for is that if I have 6 or 7 or 8 ratings by half a dozen different people, assuming there are no daily differences, that we all score plus or minus a point, point and a half from the average. And we're just trying to make it simple so it's a quick item out there. We're not, spending too much time on it. And then that'll allow me to start to define around the city a variety of things. One, what certain issues am I not doing? And I can tell you right now, parking lots aren't being maintained. I'll observe that pretty quickly as I do the inspections. Sidewalks aren't being cleaned, I know that, and I'm going to assume I'm going to observe that as I start doing inspections. Plants have been removed through the years, and the irrigation heads are still there. And so if we're going to remove plants, then it's incumbent upon staff to bury the irrigation heads so they don't leave the evidence behind. If they leave the heads still up, then it just begs the question as to what's going back. And so if they leave the heads up, then they can put something back. We do have an arborist on board, came on board not quite a year ago. He does have a tree planting program. And so anyway, that's kind of our plan.
Thank you, Director Walker. And then we'll open it up from questions from the commissioners. So, Commissioners,
I do have some questions. So, the what do you call this? The sliding scale rating system. The perceptive red flags went off. The kid in me that grew up in Naked City and went to Western is curious, and I want to make sure that at least there were some sensitivities, if nothing else, to shield from a misperception of the public. There's sensitivity to demographics. What I think is a bad look or a bad idea is for the parks that are older in the lower demographic neighborhoods where there's more kids from open homes out there doing stupid stuff like tagging. I don't think it's right, nor is it a good idea for the public perception of it that we just automatically give those guys a 77 goal. Whereas the parks and nicer areas where there's not a bunch of kids tagging all the time, they get nicer rating goals. I realize that's a tough balance, but at the same time, I don't think that all the parks in the hood should get a 77 versus all the other stuff get a 92. And I'm just asking that sensitivity was paid to that, or at least I would hope it was. You know what I mean?
That's Jerry Walker. That's a very valid point. We will certainly consider it. And again, tagging was just one component. We also have issues with criminal activities. And
yeah, and I totally get all that. I just, if somebody ever heard that and started to say, well, they don't care about us, and it's just bad perception from the neighborhood standpoints. And I think sensitivity is all that it's a matter of. That's all.
Madam Chair, if I can, this is Tim Hacker, Director of Parks and Rec. I think, I need to remind everybody the amount of investment that's going back into some of our challenged urban areas. We can talk about the Doolittle Park and the millions of dollars that was spent there, Lorenzi Park and the millions of dollars that were spent there, Bob Baskin, which is going to be under, and Gary Dexter, which are going to be parks that are in challenged areas, but I mean not as challenged as what you had mentioned. Stupak Park is actually probably one of our nicer little urban best pocket parks. A lot of investment there. I get where you're coming from, but I think it's also been identified by the city, not just from staff's perspective and Jerry's input, but from mayor and city council. Baker Park, for example, right now will probably have a poor rating, but hopefully once that project is underway, that rating will go from a lower end to a very much an upper end, because it's going to be a completely and dramatically rejuvenated park.
And to be clear, that's not my personal view. And I have an interest in making sure there's nobody here. Everybody here is all good. I just see a reporter catching on to some stupid headline or making up some stupid headline, and the public perception of it just gets blown up, and it's just not accurate and not reality. And I know you guys deal with that all the time, and your job is harder than I would ever wish it to be. I never wanted to be another. It's prevention, I guess.
So we should avoid fake news.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you. Commissioner Schultz has a comment, question.
Larry Schultz, Ward 6. Jerry, I want to say that, the work that your team is doing to create this is very positive.
the willingness to create metrics to be measured by and to be assessed by is always a good thing. And it's better to take the initiative than to have somebody come at you. So having said that, I do have a few questions because back on March 1st, I sent my feedback in to the initial submission. And I just have questions about some of my comments. So first of all, kind of going out, I have 4 points, but going out of order here. It was good to see that I asked for kind of bright line guidance to be consistent, and I think you've done that. And by the way, I apologize. I was trying to listen more to what you were saying and not trying to read all this while you were talking. Because I can't do all of it, so I'm listening to you more than reading. So, but I can see that you did a lot as far as bright line guidance, and you're also going to provide photographs and appendices and all that, so I think that's really good. One of the things that I wasn't sure I heard was the differentiation between short-term concerns, long-term concerns, and immediate concerns. I understand immediate. Immediate's like now. Now, long-term, is that like a year from now or 5 years from now?
If you check the rating
It's in
form, check the rating
On the
form,
back page.
and in the top right-hand corner, we identify.
See, that's what I said, I wasn't reading it.
Ah,
So,
okay.
good, thank you, Rosa. So let me move on then. So the next point I wanted to ask about is the work product that you do just once a year to provide to the city manager, I thought was a great work product, and I thought that would also be good to provide to each of the commissioners, the once-a-year summary. And I didn't notice, I would kind of look at where you provided for the city manager, but is it possible we, as commissioners, we can receive the work product and the assessment and the summary once a year as well?
Certainly, if we're doing a once-a-year report to city manager, we'll bring it to the Parks and Rec Commission.
Okay, I just was kind of looking for it in here.
Well, and we're also going to coordinate with you, and so I want to make sure this board is on board with what we're doing, not just the procedure, but also our baseline ratings. And so I do want to address that in a tactful manner, but I think it's better that we have discussions on, look, how do we try and make sure everybody is being well served?
And certainly when this stuff gets deployed, speaking at least for Ward 6, to the extent that I'm still here and I plan to be here, but who knows? But speaking for Ward 6, I certainly will avail myself. If you need my assistance, you need free help, you need me to show up, I'll be there.
We would like to go with each Parks and Rec Commissioner to at least one park and walk through so that you understand our position on how we're rating it. So if you believe we're rating it excessively, we'd like to hear that information, or if you believe we're too conservative. And so we'd like you to have confidence in our ratings. And so here's what we're looking for.
Now, so the next point I had is, I know initially when we discussed this 2 months ago, there was some discussion about using the output from these instruments to also assess employees and how they're doing and all that. And is that going to be put in here, or has it already been put in here, the connection between the output and the employee assessment, or is that somewhere else?
That's somewhere else. It's going to be on the employee evaluations. And so for each of the foremen, each of the,
Field supervisors
for
and
each of the field
maintenance.
supervisors, each of them have half the city. And so their performance evaluation, number one, is going to be that their parks rate at least 2 points higher than the target goal, or whatever we determine after those, or that they make a certain point increase, or that they address the immediate issues in a certain amount of time. So we're going to use this survey to set 2 or 3 of their performance goals. The field foreman, there's 4 of those, and so they each all have a quarter of them, and they'll be held more accountable for the day-to-day things. And so if I've got a field foreman, or for that matter, then the crew leader is subdivided a little further. If I continuously find dirty bathrooms in his park, he's going to be held accountable. And so he's going to need to make sure his staff knows and clean the bathrooms. Period.
Good. And my last question, following up on my comments, was the connection between the output and the the findings and the remediation. And is the remediation section how the adverse findings are corrected? Is that in here, or is that somewhere else? And again, I apologize, I didn't read it while you were talking.
I think that's an issue we still need to take a look at.
Okay. So that comment at least stands, and again, I think you're doing a great job. I think you're making very positive strides forward, and you be commended for that. And again, at least speaking for myself, I'm at your service. Let me know what I can do to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Becker.
Yes, I have a few points too. First of all, I also want to commend you on adding the educational component, because that was part of my comments that I had sent back in as well earlier. And one question I did want to follow up on, and I have a couple other points, but was that, now does this augment or does it replace any sort of outside certification, certified professionals who come and do the park assessments, particularly, let's say, like playground equipment and the lifespan and expectancy of that playground? Or is this is in addition to?
So this is for our maintenance activities, our day-to-day maintenance activities. We still do park playground inspections on a regular basis, because last thing we want is for a child to get hurt on the playground equipment. And so we're still doing those scheduled activities. One other component, and it's not part of this, and so once we get a handle on what day-to-day staff activities we're doing, where our shortfalls are, if we're appropriately staffed, other activities such as that, this I hope to learn more about everything from these surveys. The other component to this would be life cycle analysis of all the capital style equipment. And so all of the park components need to be reviewed, and so there's a certain lifespan to artificial turf. And Daphne Lagarde has done a fair amount of this, and all the artificial turf's been replaced. But I need to find out and go back to her notes and pull up when all the artificial turf is replaced. And then I need to decide what the life cycle is in general, and then I need to tweak it a little bit for the specific application. And so I need to program the KZ parks in. I need to know when KZ turf comes up for replacement, and I need to have a bar chart of upcoming expenditures so that I can budget appropriately through the city manager's office. I want to have money in place when they come due. I want to fix them, replace them before they come due, not after. There's a hue and out train. I've got to shut the field down while I go look for money to replace the turf. And so that applies to the shade structures. We lost a series of those in the heavy spring winds. And so clearly now I have a pretty good idea on what those dates were. Just back out where they failed at, and so that's the beginning of their failure cycle. And I can price those out, and so I need a full comprehensive listing. Daphne has this about halfway complete. And I need a full comprehensive listing of everything that is a discernible finite component that costs more than $5,000 to $10,000, so I can program it in for future replacement.
And then I also wanted to make a suggestion that to definitely include a kind of qualitative area within the staff comments or suggestions to any particular park or venue. And by doing so, that would provide us those opportunities if we see something that needs to be taken care of. In fact, using the example that I recently had, is I just happened to have been out at Craven Field, and there's, the field's definitely seen some passive use on top of, regular play, and it's not being, the upkeep's kind of off. And it was suggested that maybe the user groups weren't doing, their fair share of taking care of this particular park, when in fact there's like no equipment for them to do so out there. And that was like one of my comments back. So in the qualitative area, we can add things like, say that if we could include like a lockbox or some type of structure where we can keep rakes, et cetera, I'm sure user groups would be more apt to take care of those. And at the same time, last time I was out there, ironically, after I turned in the report, the bases had been stolen. So the lockbox would also provide a place to keep the bases, protected from vandals or people who are.
And that's a very good idea, and let's face it, tough sheds are not that expensive. And combination locks then would allow, as long as we replace it every now and again. And so certainly we'll talk with Tim about that possibility of Cragen and maybe other similar locations.
Tim Hacker, Director of Parks and Rec, just to remind, we don't provide bases. That's something that the leagues and or the user groups provide on their own. As far as maintenance equipment, our department wouldn't, I don't know if Jerry's department has tendency to provide that or not. I really don't. I mean, a lot of those groups hire people to come in and do their maintenance for them. As far as the smaller individual groups on individual fields, I don't know how they do it. I don't know what roads.
I know at Cragen, it's the same user group as Majestic, right? Or
the same umbrella group, yeah.
yeah.
But who they assign it to could be changing.
Director Hacker, and talking to several user groups, but none of them, a lot of them have said that the only time that they use equipment to rake the fields is when that equipment's been provided for them, and they don't actually hire out for those like the smaller smaller sections. And this is coming from like multiple travel teams and so it's a combination of user groups. And none of them are familiar with, like what you suggested, like none of them are bringing rakes to the fields to do or hiring out for those smaller fields.
Well, for clarification, we could go on indefinite, but that's, those secondary fields, frankly, are considered practice facilities. So, but again, the user groups that we allot those fields to, that's their responsibility. After the season begins, the care and maintenance of those infields and mounds and things like that, outside of grass, would be the responsibility of the league.
Are there any other commissioners? Okay, Ms. Gabby?
Elizabeth Gabret. You do an excellent job. I love most of the parts. I really enjoy them. But I do have a question for Ward 5. I do have my own evaluation for Ward 5, each part, 17 parks. So, and I also take some pictures. Some of the items maybe need to be removed and replaced. So I'm not going to ask you 17 questions right now. So what I would like to do is I'll come to your office or I can sit down and talk to you.
And I think it might be prudent before we go out and do field inspections, once we have our proposed ratings to say Ward 5 parks we view as this. That might be the time then to have that discussion in an office setting and then go out and look at the parks. So you bring up a valid point about setting a baseline. And so we'll kind of look at those, discuss them. That's critical that we get that component correct, because everything else is spring from that. So again, we will send you an updated copy of this. I didn't quite finish it today. We'll come back in your May meeting and then ask for some appropriate times at that time. We'd like to meet by ward if we could rather than by commissioner. And so I'm available. Rose and I'll make ourselves available. I understand a lot of people work during the day, but we can come in on Saturday or work a little late to accommodate your schedules, because I think it's important we get an agreement on a baseline understanding of where we're at and what we need to do that's best for each park.
Okay, is that the end of our comments on this agenda item? And I would just like to ask Director Walker a question. Will you help me remember what the discussion points were in regards to maintenance on trails?
Trails right now, I have a 2-person crew. And actually we will be presenting, just by way of reference, we're going to be presenting at the second April council meeting, which would be, is that the 19th? 19th. So on the 19th, Public Works and Operations and Maintenance will provide a presentation on where we believe the various infrastructure components are. By and large, the city of Las Vegas is in very, very good shape. However, we have certain components.
Okay, excuse me, Director. I think, do we have, how many people do we have? I'm sorry, I need to count here. Because if you leave, then we have to stop our meeting. I think 1 or 2, 3, 4.
Well, just step out for 2
Oh, no, we have, sorry, that's okay, we have. Sorry, I just couldn't remember. Not that you have to get permission from me. So, I'm sorry, Director.
You do.
I just.
Tonight.
I
You
just
hall
couldn't make
pass.
sure we still, or we just held meetings.
I didn't want to let him slip out and get in
She
trouble.
says no.
I'm sorry for the interruption.
So as we put these ratings out, I'm going to rate, for instance, arterial roadways. I'm going to rate an A. They're in good condition within the city of Las Vegas. The fuel revenue index passed, and so I'll give all the reasons I believe it's an A. The very lowest rated among our components will be trails. Now, not that the trails are in bad condition, but we don't have a comprehensive program. And so I have 2 guys that drive the trails on a regular basis, and they provide for graffiti abatement and trash collection, but I just don't have a good comprehension of the trails, and if I don't have a good handle on it, then they can't be rated very high. And so I don't have a program in place. I would hope to extend this to the trails once it's adopted.
Thank you for that clarification. I did ride the Bonanza Trail, because I do have a bike and I do ride. And I rode the Bonanza Trail and the Mountain Ridge Trail. No. Yeah. And they are really in need of attention. Underneath the bridge going right there by the West Cliff and Rainbow Pass, when you go under the bridge there until you come back up onto the bike path heading west. it has just oodles of trash and debris.
In the
And this was
bridge?
before, well, I guess what we call an underpass, sorry, under the overhead bridge for street traffic, so it's under.
And I'm sorry, what streets?
It would be Rainbow and West Cliff,
Okay.
The underpass.
and that was before the storm. And so, and Mountain, that Mountain Ridge Park heading north, all along the residential area from Washington, heading north to, well, all the way to Alexander, and lots of debris. So there's a lot, and what I'll do is, now that I know that I can report to you, I'll be on that trail again Saturday, and I'll call in and give more specifics, because I wasn't prepared to do that
And you have
on the
my,
day
you
I
have my
was
email
writing.
address.
I
so
do, thank you.
You're welcome to call me anytime it's a safety
Yeah.
issue.
It's not urgent, but I mean, it's really hard on those, on a cycle, you know, on a bicycle with the thin tires and such, running over all that debris, and then there's some construction in Betty Wilson Park on that trail, and lots of debris on that bike, so you have to ride on the grass, and lots of folks trying to use the most west end of the soccer fields. So the most west end, that trail goes right through
The
there.
Lone Mountain Trail.
And then just a general comment for future design, when streets have internal speed bump calming, it'd be really nice if they could create an area where you could bypass that, all through that park. It's a roller coaster right now.
In the Doc Romeo Basin.
Yeah, well, in Kellogg's there, I'm sorry, Betty Wilson. As you come out of that bike trail, and you have to go through that park to get back on the
So
trail.
let me make sure I understand. So that's Bonanza Trail, and that's,
Well, Bonanza started on the Bonanza Trail and ended up on the.
well, let me get to both of them. So on the Bonanza Trail, you're talking east of Rainbow, south of the 95, at that location where the trail comes back in,
Yes,
over there on the other side of West Cliff. And that's where it comes underneath that Rainbow.
yeah, that underpass right there was particularly full of debris, and I'm guessing after that storm, it probably even got more full.
Okay, and then the Mountain Ridge Trail, I'm not sure I understand which trail
It's
that
not
is.
Mountain Ridge.
I'm sorry, what's it called?
Lone Mountain
Lone
Trail?
Mountain, thank you.
Okay, so you're coming through the Doc Romeo Basin.
Mhm.
Okay, and so where on that? Just the whole trail that runs
Yeah,
along?
yeah, lots of debris.
The whole trail that
Yeah.
runs along the channel from, say,
In the
Washington
channel
to the north?
specifically,
I'm
is where,
sorry.
in the channel between the residential areas, more
Right.
specific. But let me do this, I just wanted to kind of look for clarification, rather than try to pinpoint my memory from last weekend. Let me write it again this weekend, and I'll actually have more, like, I'll get off my bike and look at my surroundings. Sometimes when you're riding on the trails, not exactly sure what I'm coming out of.
And I actually, same issue, bought a bicycle here about a month ago. My hope is to start riding the trails.
Oh, maybe one day I'll ride with you.
I
I
would
mean, there's a
certainly-
concrete block, but I'd have to go back on the trail and give you a better identifier of where it is. So when your staff do ride those trails, do they do them like in a gator, or how do they
Well, for the
preview
most
the
part,
trail?
for the most part, they're coming along in a truck because that's how they've got the spray rig mounted.
Okay.
And then the channel's a different issue, and we come through that Buffalo Channel once or twice a year to clean it up. However, the guys that are cleaning the channel are not the same guys who clean the trail, and so whether or not they report that would be questionable.
Okay, and then I just have one more, and then if I think Commissioner Schultz has a follow-up question. So do you have responsibility in your department for bike paths?
Let me ask one more time on the Lone Mountain Trail. So the Lone Mountain Trail from, say, Washington to Doc Romeo needs to be checked.
Yes.
Okay.
All the way to Alexander.
Okay, I'll take it all the way to Alexander.
Yeah.
See, and there's part of the problem. I know where that trail goes to Cheyenne, but then I don't know where it goes past Cheyenne. And so hence my rating of C, because
I
I
got
don't.
off at Beaufort Park, remember we read about it, which I think is Alexander.
It is.
And then headed up to Lone Mountain. And they got on the 250 trail and came out on that.
Okay, and so from, again, Washington.
So with that, does your department handle the bike paths as well?
In regards to what?
The bike paths by Palo Verde High School and the path itself, there's so much debris in that path. It's really pretty skittish when you're driving. And that is definitely over the 215. The bike path is very gravelly and needs to be looked at as well. So I didn't know if that was your
The
department.
reason the bike path is gravelly is it has open grade on it. Open grade is a pavement treatment which was in favor in the 90s.
Okay.
And the county and the NDOT still love it. It's still in the RTC specs. We banned it in the city of Las Vegas, I think about 10 years ago. And so open grade, they use a consistent sized pebble in there and then coat it with asphalt, and so it's permeable and it'll allow water to go through is the big selling point of it. The problem is when you have porosity, you lose strength. And so it doesn't have as much surface contact, and therefore it ravels quite a bit faster. And so what you're seeing up there is the open grade raveling, and then since the road's crowned, it runs towards the bike lanes. We are looking at a slurry seal project, which we've done this before on raveling open grade to make it last better. And so I'll double check on that again. I believe they were waiting for me to give it the go-ahead, and so since you reminded me, I'll double check. Well, no, it's a valid point. I know that's a heavy bicycle lane issue.
Oh, and it's really scary, because when you're coming down east
Yes.
out of that Summerlin area, it's a pretty big downgrade.
Yeah, so-
So your bike's going about 20, 25 miles an hour, and it's just chattering through that gravel.
On Alta.
And so I have thicker tires, but, because I have a hybrid, but my husband trains on it, on a much thinner
And
tire.
which is a new perspective for us. And so when we see open grade, we're basically looking at car rideability.
Mhm.
And so what they'll do is they kind of eventually start to look like potholes where the open grade just comes up and you've got a one each hole where it goes down to surface. And so that's where it hits our radar at. In a bicycle application area, then the raveling, which throws the rock into the bicycle lane, becomes a problem prior to the normal street issues. And so we did receive a complaint on that. Shoot me an email on the trail stuff, and then that way I'll have your email address, and I'll follow up with you on when we can slurry seal that, and I will add it to our schedule as soon as I schedule it in. Our cycles are in the spring and fall, so before the end of the calendar year, we'll go up there to do some rehabilitative maintenance.
Okay, and then I'll also send you where it's the most problematic, because it's really clear once you hit it, and then once you're out of it, when you're past town center, then it kind of clears itself up a little bit.
I did have my pavement guy inspected about 3 weeks ago, and so
Yeah,
he's.
when you get your bike, you ride it. All right, one more comment from Commissioner Schultz, and then we'll move on our agenda.
Larry Schultz, Ward 6. So this is more of a praise, a compliment. So I recently, March 9th, attended a meeting of the Park Ambassadors at Deerfield Community Center, and I had an opportunity to interface with one of your team members, Patrick Vaughn. Is he part of your team?
Yes.
Very impressed. He cares, he listens, he was very engaged with the park ambassadors to take their concerns, report back to them, and I was just like walking away and I said, that's what good looks like, and I know everybody in your team is like that, so I just wanted to compliment you on that.
Mr. Vaughn's a very capable and proficient individual. We think he'll make very good use of the surveys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we appreciate the very thorough presentation that you gave to this commission. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Director Walter. All right, moving on to agenda item number 7, which was a tabled item, discussion for possible action regarding the naming of the Las Vegas Wash Ward 3.
Madam Chair, yeah, if I may, Kelly just informed me that she talked with Mr. Akers. He is dealing with a medical issue. He's hoping that this is the last meeting he'll have to miss. He was also hoping if you could table this till next month that he could be here to participate.
Okay, do we have a motion for, to table this item? Motion to table.
I move.
All right, from Commissioner Tabor.
Second.
From Mr. Schultz. Any discussion?
I'm sorry, who made the motion? It was Amy Taylor. Okay. And did we want to table or we want to hold it in advance to the next meeting?
It's whatever,
I could use
this
a
is the
little
third
help
one.
on the difference. What is the
It's a
what's the difference
third.
between tabling it and?
Well,
holding it?
abeyance, you have a date, table, you don't have a date.
Abeyance.
Okay.
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 Commissioner Sherman?
Lisa Sherman.
We did do a motion, we're now in discussion.
Okay, can I get that motion again? I'm sorry.
Okay, with Ms. Tabor?
Yes, and who voted yea?
We haven't voted.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we had a motion to approve an abeyance from Commissioner Tabor, and then we had a second from Commissioner Schultz, and now we have a comment from Commissioner Sherman. What do you say?
Yes, Chairman, I was just going to ask if we could have the list of names either presented in the minutes, it wasn't in the actual minutes from the last meeting, the names that people were proposing for that park.
There's a lot of backup that was set with them.
Is it on the,
agenda?
is it on the, is it on the website? Oh,
Probably 2 meetings ago. So
okay.
that's when it was introduced, right?
It should be every
Yeah.
time.
And then every time it should be reintroduced.
Okay.
So was that, so Director Hacker, to answer Commissioner Sherman's question for the rest of the board in minutes, is that handout that you handed out 2 meetings ago with all the names, is that in the backup material for today's meeting?
That's what I'm
It should
being
be,
told,
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can access that.
On the website?
On the website.
Okay, that's fine.
And then for our meeting, since it looks like we will have Mr. Edgar here next meeting, could we have a hard copy at that meeting?
Sure.
To make sure that all the commissioners present have an opportunity to look at it. All right, so we have a proposal to approve this motion for an advance. All the discussion is closed now. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nay? All right, that motion passes.
And that will be May 2nd.
Okay, May 2nd. Okay, moving on up to agenda item number 8, reports given by board members regarding parks issues and events within their council board and at large. So we have Commissioner Schultz, who else would like to present? Commissioner Henley will go next. Any other commissioners who would like to report? If something comes to your mind after Commissioner Henley, just say so. So we'll start with Commissioner Schultz.
Thank you. Larry Schultz, Ward 6. So I had the privilege of attending a meeting of the Park Ambassadors on May 9th at the Durfeld Community Center, and actually that was a very good experience. And some of you, I understand, have had in the past the opportunity to have presentations made to you by the Park Commission team, by the Park Ambassador team. Since I'm a newcomer, I have not had that opportunity, so I wanted to learn about it firsthand. And I was very impressed with what I saw. I guess they have their meetings the second Tuesday of each month. And it's at the Durfeld Community Center, except in May, they're not going to have a meeting, they're going to be doing another extracurricular activity. And Stephanie Richards, which is part of Tim and your team, right?
Yes.
She is the leader of that program. And I was very impressed with how it's organized. She operates with military precision. Having said that, these are people who care about what they do, and it shows. They're highly energized, they're highly functional. In a way, I think of them as an adjunct of what we do here, but at a more detailed tactical level, as opposed to this being more strategic. They do pump out the action items, and as I mentioned, Jerry has a representative there, Patrick, who then takes detailed copious notes and follows up and provides feedback, so that seems to be functioning real well. They also do things other than just ambassador kinds of things for the parks. They do things for the community. They have a give back, and I think they're going to have an activity in May. And Kelly, I see she's shaking her head. She probably knows more about it than I do, and that has to do with UMC.
Correct.
Yeah, and so that's something which is a give back to people who have health. You know, I think it's
Oncology.
Yeah, and so I was very impressed with that. And then I also feel like if any of you have a desire or a wish, or you can attend, I plan to go there periodically, not every month, but maybe once a quarter, just to kind of stay in touch with them. As a matter of fact, somebody asked me when I was there if I was running for election. I said, why would you think that? Because they said, I guess they don't have people show up from the commission. So, but in any event, it was a good thing, and I think it's just knowing that it functions made me feel real good, and I just wanted to give you that feedback.
Wonderful, thank you for that report. All right, Commissioner Henley?
On Saturday, I had the opportunity to take my family out to Cooley Springs Park. I've been out there since the city had taken it over. Beautiful facility. And there was an event out there. I'm not sure if the focus on foster care
This
services.
was, yeah.
And
Spring Fling.
The city and the department had a presence out there. I had the pleasure of paying to throw some softballs at Director Hacker. He was sitting in the
Y'all
back
missed
end. Put my money up and I choked.
He was close.
Just scared to be sitting there on this, missing the ball. We're always hitting with one. But we had a really good time out there, and I thought it was very well attended.
Yeah, if I may, Director Hacker, that's one of the large events that the city does participate in, our department specifically, with Clark County and their division, the foster care group. And they also I think, had animals out there that were needing homes, and not only signed up 17 new people to foster children, but also were able to get homes, forever homes for
For the Animal Foundation.
yeah, for Animal Foundation. I believe it was 100 animals. So
I'm sorry, say those numbers again?
yeah, 17 new people signed up to host foster children. That's really the intent. Plus, to give foster kids in the system something to do with their mentors, with their families, whatnot. There's carnival rides. There's all kinds of really neat activities going on. And then they also partner with the Animal Foundation to try to find forever homes for animals. I believe the number was 100 pets found homes. Forever
Wow.
homes. So great event. The weather was perfect. A little chilly after getting dunked. So I actually think Mr. Commissioner Henley actually took it easy on me, to be honest.
Walked in with a coefficient. Chin music.
Thank you for that report, Commissioner Henley. Is there any other commissioners? Commissioner Becker?
And naturally, I have opportunities to visit lots of different parks, especially ballparks, because my daughter happens to be a softball player, so I tend to visit a lot. Although I have some, obviously some issues with the Grandin Park that's kind of holding up the use out there. Maybe that could even spur some policy change in the future to where we can designate how to get longer lights out of our parks. I did have the opportunity also to visit Majestic, and that is definitely one of those 92 parks. I mean, it's just a gorgeous park. But also, which I had never been to before, I had an opportunity to visit Shadow Rock for a tournament that my daughter played in, and that's another softball park. It's gorgeous, very well kept, kind of out of the way, but it's over on the sunrise side, and it also is a very excellent park. So,
That's county, isn't it?
Thank you. Is there any other commissioners who would like to?
Okay, Elizabeth DeRay. A couple of weeks ago, I attended Nevada Flower Show. I think they sent an invitation, but I don't know, it was 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. And it was a beautiful flower arrangement, Japanese or different kind of vegetables.
At the Lorenzi?
On the Lorenzi.
Sammy Davis
Yes,
Plaza?
yes, it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And, but the ladies, they worked so hard with the rose garden. They were so proud of the gardens, but they were really upset a little bit because someone abandoned the rose garden. Yeah, but it was
The Rose Garden Society, is it still active?
Yeah.
Commissioner Hacker? Did you know?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, Tim Hacker, Kelly Schwartz might have an update on that.
The Rose Garden, actually, that club is still active, because I just talked to them a couple weeks ago, because we just put a link on the city's website to the Rose Society, so they are still active, so I don't know what.
Might be time of
Maybe
year,
it's
the
still
growing
active.
season.
But what happened is, the rose they planted, someone I think stole it.
Oh, okay.
Vandalism.
Abandoned.
I thought so.
Abandoned them.
Thanks for that.
It's like they took them out from the
Oh,
plaza,
my.
maybe like 10 or 20 of them.
Well, okay. We'll maybe tell Jerry about that and see.
All right. Director Hacker, on agenda item number 9, did one of the commissioners ask to place that on there, or is that something we will see again in the future?
Actually, through the chair, Tim Hacker, item 8 reports by board members. That was something, these last several months, we've had a variety of commission members send comments in wanting to report back. So we took it upon ourselves to work with the city attorney's office and the clerk's office to make sure we could get something appropriately worded. Because with open meetings laws, you have to be really careful about how information is presented, what kind of discussion might lead to debate, might lead to a perceived decision. So this really is just an opportunity for you to give a report back, what you observed. not to ask for agenda items per se,
Okay.
just to report on what you've observed, what you participated in. We just need to be really mindful of that. But yeah, we do plan on keeping this on the agenda as long as everyone behaves themselves.
And for clarification, Billy recommended to say agenda item 8, so
That's
thank you for
fine.
correcting that. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9, report by Tim Hacker, Parks and Recreation Director regarding upcoming Department of Park and Recreation Activities awards.
Thank you, Chairwoman. This is one that you could take off if you'd like. But while I'm here, I'll provide a couple of nice, I wanted to really compliment, and I will again, but Jerry Walker and his crews did a tremendous job in cleaning up the parks. And he talks about the amount of damage in the roadways, which, affects, travel, ingress, egress into neighborhoods, things. But the attention that they gave our parks, Floyd Lamb Park, went out there Friday afternoon, and it was cleaned up. And there was at least 3 huge mature trees that had been lost. And they had them cleaned up. I think the park looked excellent on Saturday. So, hats off to Jerry and Rosa and their crews, their responsiveness. Also, Jerry Walker thinking outside the box, having a litany of vendors right in his back pocket to call and dispatch. So there's landscaping crews and tree cutting crews and things that are out there augmenting city staff. So wonderful response. Definitely want that on the record. The couple of big things, we just learned that a grant that we've been seeking for 2 years from the Nevada Lands and Water Conservation Division, it's about a $100,000 grant that was matched by Variety Children's charitable team by $100,000, and so there's going to be $200,000 worth of new adaptive playground equipment placed at Myron Levitt J.C. Park. The reason that park was chosen is because there's 4 schools in very close, Variety, of course, close proximity that serve children with special needs. So this will be, I think we actually shared this when Bernard and Jonathan came and visited the board, talked about the concept, I think even showed some illustrations. But so very proud of Bernard Preston and Cindy Moyes and staff for going after that grant, being tenacious, getting a partner that could provide the match. That's going to be a very nice improvement. It'll be the first public adaptive playground in the valley. There is a private adaptive playground that was provided at, I'll get the name wrong, south on Buffalo. Anyway, one of the workshop locations has a private one, so we'll be the first public one. Additionally to that, our budget requests, we're remaining stable. We had gone after a potential additional expanded budget, which was looking at the northwest part of our community and what to do with facility needs and getting a footprint out there. It's the fastest growing part of our community in Ward 6, Sky Canyon. So we're going to be working with YMCA, looking at that Centennial Hills facility and how to best use that going forward, because frankly we don't have a presence, we can't get our leagues established, and there's a high demand by these families that are moving out there for a very affordable recreational opportunity, and that's our main focus and goal. We're also going to be looking at downtown. There's some real unique needs downtown and some real unique opportunities. When I say downtown, that can be a pretty broad area, but from Eastern, Charleston, 95 over to really Martin Luther King, for example, might be considered the downtown area. And so we're looking at how we look at some of those needs, special event space, other types of things, may have some partners, may have some exciting things to report, not yet, but down the road as they progress. But there is some attention being paid to that, as well as the far west end of the community with Summerlin continuing to grow, starting to see some new expansion out there, and there's some commitments in a development agreement that are pretty exciting that could come to fruition. Billy probably remembers working on those development agreements, so it's kind of nice to see those projects come to fruition. So we'll report back on those. That's really it for exciting news. If there's any questions, be happy to try to respond.
Are there any questions from the commissioners for Director Hacker? Okay, then we will move on to, thank you for the report. We'll move on to agenda item number 10, citizen participation. Public comments during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No subject may be acted upon by the commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. So do we have anybody from the public? All right, would you like to come forward, and we need you near a microphone, so how about if you... Oh,
Right down here.
That's right, I forgot that our clerk says up down there, thank you. You'll just give us your name, please, before you begin.
My name is John Perazzo,
Can you spell that?
Johnperazzo.
Thank you.
I live across from Lorenzi Park on West Washington. I also have the volunteer unofficial Facebook fan page for Lorenzi Park. I would like that page to be available to any and all commissioners, the statistics, the postings, everything, the comments. To give a quick tally before I go into the personal issue I want to bring up the park. The Facebook fan page has 1,661 people like the page, and I would hope that the page becomes transparent and that they're expressing that they like the park. 1,634 follow the page. 28,652 have visited the park in terms of their geographic location. There have been 149 ratings of the park, the 5-star rating that Facebook has. The average is 4.4, which is up from 4.3 the last time I reported in October. That's 100 at 5 stars, 28 at 4 stars, 13 at 3 stars, 3 at 2 stars, and 5 at 1 star. And I was just zipping through the list, and the comments are very helpful. One fellow said that this is the best park in the world, or best park in America. Another one was concerned about cleanliness. Whenever I receive a note, I always pass it on to Jennifer in social media, and she passes it on, and things get addressed, and people are really pleased that things are working there. My personal concern is the last month that the herbicide was sprayed, and across from where I live, there's 2 trees and type 2 fill, kind of gravel, sand, and that is just wonderful for weeds to get rooted and plant. And I understand it's very cost effective to use the herbicide, but I'm wondering if a gravel chat could be used on that space just as an experiment to contain the weeds. It was used in the Doolittle Senior Community Garden between the beds. Last year, my wife was there, and they were spraying between the beds, and she asked if we could not spray. They could not spray that bed because those are edible plants, and it's right next to each other. And in the park, I know it's used in the gravel area, the herbicide, and I've seen, it's not but I've seen 2 children in the last year pick up the rocks. It's not like this is dire, but it does happen. The geese do avoid the rocks. They stay on the grass, and the weeds in the grass are not treated. I'm happy for that because the ducks use, and mostly the geese eat those. But in this area, it's right in front of the house, and now it's kind of stained yellow with the stain they have. So I'm just wondering if there's a different kind of a mulch that could be used. Maybe 2 inches. I did a quick price, but it looks like maybe $6,000 just for that area from Magnolia to the basketball courts. $6,000 for that 2 inches at maybe 6,000 square feet in that square. Or if they could bring back the pampas grass. Pampas grass was there, but it died, or somehow it's not there anymore. That was nice. But otherwise, the view is great. Again, if you have any trouble accessing the fan page, Facebook fan page for Lorenzi, let me know. But there's a lot of good information there, and I'm really grateful for this commission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. We appreciate you coming and bringing your presentation to us, and we have one commissioner that has a follow-up question, comment, and just to remind everyone that we are on agenda item number 10, which means this board cannot make any action at this time, but we certainly will reflect. Your comments will be reflected in the minutes, and also you have Director Hacker here, He will also make notation of your concerns that you've brought.
Yeah. The, last year with the Pirate Fest and the massive rain, they were again very on top of it, and they washed that whole area out. They brought the sand back. They got the roadway open, but that rainstorm was very devastating. So I don't know if Chat washes as easy as this fill does, the sand does. So consideration. Thank you.
Good. Commissioner Schultz, a comment?
Larry Schultz, Ward 6. What is, if I was to go into Facebook and I was to type in the search, what is the exact name of the fan page?
Lorenzi Park.
Just,
Okay.
that's it. Thank you.
And then Commissioner Becker.
Yeah, Commissioner Becker, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the board, myself, and I'm sure other members agree for your due diligence and all the work that you put into the family. And it's really good to see you, John.
Taking the time to come and care about your community and the park in your neighborhood and representing those folks that are on that Facebook page. Thank you very much.
Hoping we can improve our score. But I think we need to address the whole neighborhood, so I think that'll be
Thank you.
the next step. Thank you.
Very much for
Thank
sitting
you.
for the whole meeting to make sure your comments on the record. All right, with that said, we'll move on to number 11 to officially adjourn this meeting.